Welcome back to the show. Well, the SEC filing an appeal. Did they? Didn't they? Did it expire? Is it extended? Do they have more time? We got to get into it. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.41 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. The market is off by 2.6%, but take a look here. 67,000 plus for Bitcoin right now, 2,600 plus for Ethereum, 119 billion plus market cap for Tether, USDC, 34 billion plus. Number 7 spot's XRP at 55 cents. We're up 1.9 on the 24 and up 4.5 on the 7-day. Now let's look at the range of price very quickly between 54 and 56 cents. We're sitting smack dab in the middle here at 55 cents. Let's keep an eye on it, ladies and gentlemen. We got some real news to get into today. Keep an eye out for this later. There's an exciting election-related announcement today. This was on Maria Bartiromo's show on Fox Business, and we need to keep an eye out for what that was. I haven't had a chance to see it because I've been putting together content for these videos this morning, but keep an eye out for that. Let's all figure out what's going on there. It sounds big. Fidelity FBTC fund now holds 184,219 Bitcoin. That's over $12 billion. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, like I said, as long as BlackRock and Fidelity are holding it and playing the game, so's Bradley. I have Bitcoin. Yes. Now, let's listen to this to level set. It's an older clip, but we know this, but I want you to listen here to what Larry Fink talks about ultimately where we're about to go. This is what legislation will begin to do, especially if we not only get stablecoin legislation, but market infrastructure legislation as well. This is where we're going, and this is what I've been here for and waiting for, is the tokenization of all the traditional financial products. Take a look.
Storage. We believe the next step going forward will be the tokenization of financial assets. And that means every stock, every bond will have its own, basically, CUSIP. It'll be on one general ledger. Every investor, you and I, will have our own number, our own identification. We could rid ourselves of all issues around illicit activities around bonds and stocks and digital by having a tokenization. But the most importantly thing, we can customize strategies through tokenization that fits every individual. We would have instantaneous settlement. Think about all the costs of settling bonds and stocks. Mm-hmm. But if you had a tokenization, everything would be immediate because it's just a line item. And so we believe this is a technological transformation for financial assets. I believe if you want to talk about voting and voting choice and all the things, if we know every moment who is the owner of that stock and it's now time to vote, every individual who has ownership is identified and they can vote their own shares.
And that's remarkable what he's talking about, and we are headed to that direction for that common goal. I want to show the relationship between that and the recent Swell event where James Wallace and Graham Rodford from Archax talk about the tokenization of the world too.
What are your thoughts on the technology, aspect of that, and bringing on things like, CSDs into the equation? How do you make these things coexist, but how do you accelerate so you get more benefit?
Yeah, that's probably where I'm a bit more bullish on the adoption of these assets. I mean, we think every asset's going to be on chain. This technology benefits the issuer, the infrastructure, the investor for numerous reasons. So it's inevitable that this is coming.
There's no question, and I just wanted you to see that alignment with BlackRock and everyone on stage at Ripple. And this is remarkable. Look, we know that there are ETFs coming closer to reality. I think we have 3 now. Off the top of my head, I know that we have Canary and we have the other one that was filed as well. Look, and then we have the multi-currency ETF that was just filed from Grayscale, or at least announced that they would file it, and that includes XRP. So it is getting super exciting, ladies and gentlemen, super exciting. Look, the tokenization of everything, right? ETFs, that's what we're doing. All right, now listen to this. Now, this bothered me a little bit. First of all, Monica Long was fantastic in this. but it's the way she was passive-aggressively ambushed by the gentleman at Bloomberg. See if you feel the same way as you're listening.
How much uncertainty is there left? Because when I think across the landscape of uncertainties, the list is long. It ranges from stablecoins to exchanges. What concerns you the most?
So looking globally, many countries are getting it right, and they're leading the way. So take Brazil, Singapore, Hong Kong, UK, Europe. Europe created a framework called MICA that brought together 27 different states to create a clear framework of how to regulate crypto assets and their use cases. In the US, you see a lot of chaos and confusion. So we would really like to see more leadership out of our policymakers in Congress. You have regulators like the CFTC who are really leaning in to understand and take a position on some of these, the technology and some of their use cases, publishing a paper on DeFi. And then on the other side, you have the SEC who has taken, frankly, Chair Gary Gensler has just been on a warpath for a number of years now with just through enforcement actions and not really providing any regulatory clarity.
Now I want you to listen. Here comes the passive-aggressive guy.
I hear warpath and I think to myself, at the same time, over the last year, we've seen ETF products allowed in the US for Ether and for Bitcoin. So it doesn't necessarily, to me, look like an administration or an SEC that has been really hostile to crypto. What would you say to somebody who comes back at you with that argument?
Well, we wouldn't say it to somebody, we'd say it to you, Four Eyes, because the reality is you're an idiot to propose that kind of question when the people who are actually officials in the SEC are vocally talking about the fact that this is the wrong approach to crypto and there is no clarity. This chump sits here, tries to passively aggressively ambush Monica Long with this nonsense. Oh, well, Bitcoin and Ethereum have gotten ETFs. Why do you suggest that the SEC's been on a warpath? Oh, I don't know, because they were caught lying in the debt box case, you moron. I don't know, maybe because they were caught being arbitrary and capricious in the Grayscale case. Or maybe it's because they were caught being unfaithful allegiance to the law in the Ripple case. When are we going? And you know what the real slap in the face is here? Bloomberg was the media partner at Swell. And then this dipshit sits here like this and puts a passive-aggressive maxi crypto point across for Monica to field, which she does beautifully, by the way.
We have the court system to thank for that. The SEC really was painted into a corner there. And we have seen U.S. courts through a number of cases, in the case of Grayscale's case on the ETF, providing a way forward. In the case of SEC versus Ripple, again, last year, the U.S. courts ruled that XRP is not a security. So that's good. That creates clarity for our industry and for our business.
You know, congratulations to Monica and certainly Brad Garlinghouse, too. They always take the high road. Well, you know what? I'm never going to be a CEO of anything. So, you know what? I don't have to. I'm not running for president. And I just think it was really despicable of that guy to try to float a question for Bloomberg's audience who's listening that he doesn't see anything wrong with the SEC's approach. The next question should be, well, why don't you tell us, passive-aggressive coward, how much Bitcoin and Ethereum do you hold? Because that's the point he's making there, right? So, oh, boy, I tell you. And they wonder why we get pissed off. We're the ones who've been years in the making running the legal gauntlet for the entire crypto space, not just for Ripple and XRP. But this is still the kind of passive-aggressive, cowardly, maxi business we got to push through. And we're supposed to not acknowledge it? Not at my house. Take a listen to this.
The XRP token announced the exchanges that will help it distribute its new stablecoin. In a press release out on Tuesday, Ripple laid out some of its exchange partners, including Bitstamp, MoonPay, and Bullish, among others, who will distribute Ripple USD. The firm announced back in April that it was launching a stablecoin that would be pegged to the US dollar. The move would pit Ripple against giants like Tether's USDT and Circle's USDC, along with payment firm PayPal's stablecoin PYUSD. Back when Ripple announced plans to launch a stablecoin, Ripple's CEO Brad Garlinghouse said he wasn't deterred by the competition and that the market will look different in the future. Now, yesterday, CoinDesk also reported that Ripple is awaiting regulatory approval from the New York Department of Financial Services before.
That's exactly right, which also was a recent speaker at Ripple. So hang in there, ladies and gentlemen. I want to point out, we all know the names of all the people that are participating in helping to launch RLUSD once it does. But Bullish, I just wanted to highlight Bullish Exchange for everybody right here. You are aware that Tom Farley is in fact, and this is some kind of whatever that is, but Tom Farley is in fact the former president of the New York Stock Exchange. That's where we're going. Yeah. And he's got his digital asset exchange, and he's going to be working with the Real USD. Come on in. Meanwhile, 4 million more Real USD minted on the Real USD Treasury, or at the Real USD Treasury, according to Etherscan. Remember, this is going to launch on Ethereum network and the XRP ledger, ladies and gentlemen. Big deal. Talk about bringing these two protocols together in an interoperable fashion. Remarkable. Then there was this. Oh boy, here we go. Now we're getting into it. We were waiting last night for the Form C to be filed in the SEC versus Ripple appeal. It's not a mystery. The SEC will appeal, according to Freddie Rispoli, who became a new dad. Congratulations, my friend. Beautiful baby. He says here the SEC will appeal. Torres wrong on programmatic sales. Torres wrong on other distributions. Torres wrong on not allowing disgorgement. Torres wrong by ordering too low penalty of $125 million. And because their attorneys are a-holes, you might even see SEC appeal. XRP in and of itself isn't a security dicta holding. SEC assuredly won't win on this, but nothing stops it from throwing a few paragraphs at it in an appellate brief. And I think this is exactly right. This is the way I see it from Fred Rispoli here. But there's been some confusion about whether last night was in fact the deadline or not. In a surprise misstep, the SEC appears to have missed the deadline to file its appeal, failing to specify its objections to Judge Annalisa Torres in the August 7th ruling. However, like I said, there is some confusion here. There are 3 documents floating around regarding the Ripple versus SEC appeal from Form C deadline, which is where they will, make the claims of what they're actually appealing, right? So now, if you look here, there are 3 documents here. Document 1 refers to the acknowledgement of notice of appearance form. This has a deadline of October 18th, nothing to do with Form C. Document number 2 is a list of the docket entries for the Second Circuit appeal. We do not go by the date the notice of appeal was added to the Second Circuit docket. Example, what if the SEC filed its notice of appeal on the 1st of any month, but it wasn't docketed until the 7th of the month due to technical difficulties? That would be unfair loophole to the rule, extending the timeline by 7 days. Document number 3 is from the district court docket where the notice of the appeal was originally filed. It is dated October 7th and clearly states that the Form C and D are due within 14 days to the Court of Appeals. This makes the deadline yesterday, October 16th, and this is the one I have gone with. I hope that helps. It certainly does. Shout out to Ashley Prosper and everyone else who's tried to help us figure this out. Eleanor Tarrant came in late last night, and remember, she spoke to Stuart Alderati, and he even hinted that yesterday was the deadline. According to this document filed in the Second Circuit Court, the SEC notice of appeal was filed on the 2nd, but then not the docketed until the 4th, so it seems the real deadline is actually Friday, October 18th at 11:59 p.m. Now, again, it's floating around. We don't know. There's been confusion. Wall Street Bulls believes that Ripple has officially won the case, confirmed by the ChatGPT. I wouldn't go that far, and we're still waiting to see. And furthermore, if that's the case, I'd love it to be the case. You guys would too, right? But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But David Schwartz actually also believed that the ending on the deadline was last night at midnight. But he also confesses, as I do, I'm not exactly an expert on appellate procedure, and neither am I. So, and here is a reminder, the deadline could be the 10/18, or maybe we're wrong, and it was last night. However, I think Fred brings some more perspective to this too. He says, I wouldn't get too excited about an untimely Form C filing. It should have been filed 10/16. That did not happen. However, the local rules of the Second Circuit state failures to comply may result in a dismissal of the appeal. Sorry to say, appellate courts give a lot of leeway to federal agencies. Even a lame excuse from the government is likely enough to allow the court to let it slide. Now, if you or I were a day late on the filing this freaking form, our case is over, and I'm calling my malpractice carrier shortly thereafter. In a government world, those type of rules usually don't apply. So I think that really puts us in a place where we know to just kind of let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's not get too far out in front of our skis, and let's figure out what's going on. And while we're waiting for that information, look at this chart. Smaller time frames give distracting signals, but the monthly chart, XRP to dollar, when the support and resistance lines intersect, the XRP run starts afterwards. Look, we're here. It starts after. We're not far away here. It looks like 2025 could be an interesting year to watch. He goes further to say XRP will be unstoppable when we see the price is over Ichimoku clouds, which is right here. So once we get over this and this, watch out. I love it. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're going into the Freedom Zone. You can go to digitalperspectives.com, click the Freedom Zone, and come on in. All right.